game now. Me and you, we ain't the same now. Lions coming out to play now. Opposition out the way now. Out of the way. You wasn't invited. Say you come to play. I dare you to try it. You don't wanna try me. Then step up to my team. Yeah, out of the way. Yeah, yeah. Out of the way. Yeah, yeah. Out of the way. Game now, me and you, we ain't the same now. Lions coming out to play now. Opposition out the way now. Out of the way, you wasn't invited. Say you come to play. I dare you to try it. You don't wanna try me. Then step up to my team. Yeah, out of the way. Yeah, yeah. Out of the way. Yeah, yeah. Out of the way.
Live from iRacing's virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway in stock car racing's backyard, we say good evening, race fans, and welcome to RaceSpotTV's continuing coverage of the Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series playoffs. Well, the round of 12 continues and ends here tonight on the Roval at Charlotte Motor Speedway, located in Concord, North Carolina. After tonight, your hopefuls for the Full Throttle Cup go from a 12 to 8, and it is a final road course bout of the season. Alongside of myself, Evan Pasoko, happy to be joined by Terry Radford, the RaceSpotTV booth. Our producer downstairs, as always, is Joshua Lee. And Terry, this is a race where we don't, unlike Talladega, have a huge question over who's going to be in the mix, right? We go from a racetrack where anybody could win it to a racetrack where I got 1, 2, maybe 3 names, right? We're looking at the heavy hitters. You're looking at the Dansons. You're looking at some of those other drivers, the Cody Harrises, who have shown flashes of brilliance on tracks like this to be up there in the conversation. We know who's going to be the fastest here, but then, as Liam Sheen said pre-race, 4th on back, that's where the blender starts. We really don't know what to expect. These drivers are still learning these next-gen stock cars on these road courses, and what a critical time to have this race.
After I spit my game here, but you're right. You're absolutely correct. Kevin King was the fastest in practice. I sitting here with the producer going into the show, and Matt Danson was sitting 10th, and he was like, "Oh, it's not gonna be a Matt Danson show." Just kidding. His 10th lap, he goes out and puts a 1:18.5 down. So he's sick too, by the way. He actually sent me a message. He got all up in my DMs, and this is straight
from the source.
Mouth. MJ flu game. He kicks it back to a Detroit Pistons reference when Jordan goes out there and puts on an absolute a crush fest on the court. Could he walk off? Because if he doesn't finish in the top 5 tonight, playoffs over. And then my prediction comes true.
Yeah, is that kind of a little bit of MJ reference mixed in with the Babe Ruth? Is he calling his shot, calling the flu game before it happens? We look high and above this Roval here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, Terry. It incorporates a majority of that 1.5 mile super speedway, but of course the infield portion, some of the most exciting bits. You got the chicane on the front stretch, the chicane on the back stretch. You got Heartburn Turn going down into turn number 1. This racetrack clocks in at 2.28 miles in length, 17 corners to get around this joint, and it will go racing tonight for 125 miles start to finish. It is not going to be a race where cautions are a factor. They, as always, do not exist full course wise here in road course racing for the Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series, so mistakes are going to hurt that much more, and this race is going to go by pretty quickly, all things considered, as we take a look at the playoff leaderboard headed into this evening. Agnell Phillip, of course, we all remember the race win that he had at the start of this round back at Texas. He followed it up with another top 5 last week at Dega. He is locked in, but everybody else, question marks. Now, King up 33, Danson up 26. They would need a really, really bad night because there's only 24 cars in the field here. So when we start, they may actually mathematically lock in, Terry, but it gets real close on that cut line. Silver's only 5 above. Lariah only safe by 3. Andrew Freenosh, the 4-time defending series champion, is out by 3 into this race. Johnson -7. That whole list, 6th on back, is going to be wild to follow tonight.
Yeah, it's wild watching qualifying too, because as you started reading names off, you said, oh, Michael Lariah is a couple points up. Michael Lariah goes P2. Andrew Freenosh 4 below, he goes to P1 on the chart. So those drivers know what they have to do. I mean, Agnell Phillip has a free pass. He can do whatever he wants to do here this afternoon. He could ride around in the back. He could challenge for the win. He could even bump and run somebody who's looking for the playoff spot that's down here. I mean, think about it. Brandon 6, he's eliminated. He's not even here. So not in this show here this afternoon. Connor Horn, I see him there. He's on pit road getting ready to go. This is going to be a wild race because anything could happen. Strategy galore, wrecks galore. You never know.
Yeah, the complexion of the field is interesting as well, right? I mean, you're going from races at Talladega where you had nearly a full field to now a race with only 24 cars, right? You see this later in the season. Even drivers who have competed in a majority of the year eliminated in the most recent round, not racing here with us this afternoon, which means that the minimum points is much higher, right? If you finish last place in this race right now at the current field of drivers that we have, you would get 24th in the running order. 24th place still would net you 13 points, right? It's not like you're down in the 30s. So that is a big factor in how you points race in this event. And of course, the impact that has on the results, because if we're going to be honest, Harry, the majority of the cars who have not shown up tonight are non-playoff cars, right? So this field is heavily skewed playoff heavy. So it's going to be harder to differentiate yourself from those other playoff cars because you can't put 10 non-playoff cars in between you and somebody else, right? So the field size here, the fact that this is a road course, where it falls on the schedule, are all going to have big impacts on how this race plays out.
Yeah, it's going to be a massive difference. And, you think about the whole complexion of this race, 17 turns with an opportunity to make a pit stop once. The way I spoke to some drivers, they said 1 pit stop, no tires. If this thing goes the way that it should, you come down whenever, but it's going to be a matter of who comes down when. It's going to be based off of pure speed. It's going to be based off of, how you section off parts of this race. You look right here at who we think is the heavy favorite in Matt Danson. Well, Kevin King, Agnell Phillip, Andrew Freenosh might have something to say about that. Michael Lariah there, Sam Vieto, Jaron Winemaster's in this conversation. Anything can happen. Talking to a couple drivers, they talked about going into turn 2 or coming at it onto NASCAR turn 2 out in the corner of the infield portion. That's toe link disaster. You're going to run into the wall there, potentially break the toe link. You're not going to have a good night. The chicanes have a ton of bumps. It's just wicked loose. You never know. I mean, you're going to see him right here. It's going to look like he's going to start chattering in the center. You see him, he starts bouncing a little bit, goes to swing it, hits the curves. What if you hit those curves wrong? Watkins Glen, somebody broke a toe link in the midst of it. This is going to be super fun as he jumps to P2, by the way.
P2 on the board for Danson, 0.32 seconds off of the lap from Kevin King. Of course, it has been all Matt Danson on the road courses this year. A winner at Watkins Glen, a winner at Road America, and a winner at COTA. So trying to complete the sweep, as it were. Kevin King, a 5-time winner in his own right. Most recently in the round of 16 opener at the Darlington Raceway. That was his 5th win of the year. Both he and Danson tied for the most wins out of anybody, and they are 1-2 on the board. But Kevin King would love to get that one extra, get that one up on him, and to beat Danson at a very critical point in the year. Cody Harris, somebody else who we could be looking forward to tonight. Harris, slow roll on the front straightaway. The driver of the 28 machine yet to complete a time, and I wonder if he had issues towards the tail end of his lap. That would be big news. I'm showing he's only on lap number 1, so he may have time to go for another lap, but there's only 2 minutes left on the clock, top left of your screen. So Cody Harris with with whatever issue he's having, may not get a chance to put down a qualifying lap and start to the rear. That's really going to hurt you in a race that, again, does not have yellows.
It's not going to be pretty. I mean, I hate to tell anybody, but passing here is a premium. You have to take advantage of it when you can take advantage. You have to really set yourself up for these corners at the right way. And there's a lot of people in this field that I don't want to go past. I don't want to pass here. I mean, you think of them. You look at a William Smith. He has nothing to lose. He was in a position to win last week. You look at Jaron Weinmaster, and he's got heavy damage. Cody Harris, I mean, it looks like he might have overshot the corner or maybe jumped a curb here, and that whole front end's gone. But you look at Manazzi Major, he's just going to cut that completely, and that's a stop right there. So this race could be flipped upside down if one of your playoff favorites in Cody Harris is, in the back as we're hearing that he might be having some mechanical issues because it looks like he can't even get on the throttle. It's just backing itself up there in Heartburn Turn.
Yeah, I would think the same thing. I think he may have some sort of an equipment issue, when you can see the wheel moving. I don't know if he's trying to reset something with his monitor, reset something with wheel and pedal set, but it was very strange that he's still parked there. Again, anything could happen. He can step away from your sim rig. It's not like he's actually stuck in that race car, but the fact that he does not get a lap in is very concerning for Cody Harris. He was good in practice, the top 4 race cars. We take a look at Harry Grindle, but not qualifying. Again, relatively smaller field, but that is going to be very detrimental to his hopes of having a good afternoon here today if he cannot get that race car onto the track. And looks like he may have resolved whatever the issue was, but clock's going to run out here. He will not have a chance to qualify, and that could be a big hit for Cody Harris. Remember, he's trying to fight and stay in this conversation, and it comes in 23 points above the cut line. That's going to put him way down towards that danger zone right away in this race as we look to go trackside. Qualifying has drawn to a close, so let's head down and take a look at your K-List Synthetics starting grid. And we talked about it as the qualifying session played out. On top will be Kevin King, the only driver to dip into the 118s. It's an 18.840 that puts him on pole ahead of Matt Danson in second. Agnel Phillip, Andrew Freenosh will make up row number 2 ahead of Michael Laraya and Sam Nieto. It's an all playoff top 6.
Like Connor Horn and Jaron Weinmaster rounding out, that would be row 4. David Call, Brandon Bowie back there in 9th and 10th. Sean Casto and Michael Johnson, who needs a good run for the playoffs, Evan.
Needs a good run. -7 into today. Nick Silver also looking for a good showing. He's only 5 to the good. He'll start 13th alongside William Schmidt in 14th. Gary Saxon in 15th ahead of Brandon Fetter place at P16. And then it's Tom Wetmore, Eric Papanow, row 9.
Then you got Raleigh Grant Davis and Ross Cato back there. And then you go into the people that didn't lay the qualifying lap down. You got Cody Harris, Eric Stanford, Harry Gardell, and Manazzi Major. That'll round out this 24-car field around this 17-turn course.
And that was a look at your K-List Synthetics starting grid. From now until the end of the playoffs, any customer that places an order of $100 or more can receive a complimentary 6-month preferred customer membership provided by K-List Synthetics Amsoil that will give you up to 25% off your current and future orders. For more information, you can reach out to them online at K-List Synthetics on Facebook or call 785-813-1882, and they will help you get your discounted order placed. So let's talk a little bit more as we pace around and about this Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval. They completely redesigned the existing infield road course, Terry, that existed here in 2018 is when they rebuilt it up, and over the course of the next 55 laps, these drivers are going to have to run on these fixed setups around sweeping turns, high elevation changes on the inside of the racetrack. Of course, the high banks, the heavy braking zones, the curbs. I'll be honest, I don't do a lot of road course racing on the service. This is fun to drive, and I hope these drivers have fun while being competitive in this one, because it really is such a fun car track combination.
Well, I'm glad one of us up here thinks it's fun. I did 20 laps around here yesterday, and I tell you, for all 20 laps, I don't think I said a positive word about this racetrack. While it is fun to watch, and it's fun to see all the differing driving styles around here. You have the aggressive bunch, you have the relaxed bunch. I'm not one of those guys. I hate road racing just in general. I think it's fun to watch, but it's not fun to do. I hit everything but the pace car, all right? I'd come out of the corner, I'd smack the wall, I'd jump the turtles, I'd overshoot the corners, but I started to figure it out. I don't do any road racing in general, unless it's Daytona Road for charity. Yeah, I'll go do that. But this car is difficult to just... You have to manhandle it. You can't just sit around and go, oh, you know what, I'm just gonna ride. You have to manhandle these cars. And right now, Kevin King's the guy that says, hey, I can manhandle it the best.
A little bit of late breaking news as well from pit road. Cody Harris confirming that issues with his pedals caused him to miss the option to finish a qualifying lap earlier this afternoon. So that means that Harris will be the lowest starting of your playoff competitors back in the number 21 position. Pace car going to be down and in, though, to the safety of the pit lane this time. And we will see, can the 5-time race winner Kevin King best Matt Danson, who is undefeated on the road courses so far this year. Pace car off and in. Kevin King going to have the outside for the first of these two kinks as we come into the restart zone and look for the green flag. Let's go racing on the Roval. Side by side, Danson on the inside. More contact now, and he is through. Matt Danson from second takes the lead from Kevin King.
Yeah, that's all about just showing your will at the beginning of this race. Who is going to be willing to go out here and make that aggressive move? That wasn't as aggressive as what we've seen in some of the other road course races, but that was just him saying, hey, look, I could go on the outside in turn one, and I can make you second guess yourself, and then I'll put myself in a position for the next corner and set myself up for the sweeping left and right-hander. He did that. Half a second already up on the high banks going into the first chicane here.
They're going to head down to the back stretch chicane, the bus stop. Again, that's where those big blue sausage curbs come into play. Some drivers going to use a little bit of them to help turn. Others are going to get a little bit too much and obviously overstep the bounds. Starting to spread things out, though, towards the front of the field. This lap time is going to be pretty consistent at about that 80-second range or so over the course of the night. Danson as well going to secure the first bonus point. You saw that twitch, though, Terry. That's what hurt King, right? I mentioned he was on the outside in the first of those two kinks for a reason. Yes, he had the inside coming to the green, but he had a tighter turn when the green flag came out, and he had a lot of tire spin. That's what allowed Danson to get the advantage in one. King was able to drive alongside him, but he could never equal himself with him, right? Danson had the better positioning as they went to the infield part, and I'll tell you what, these top two are a second and a half ahead of Agnew Phillip already, but Kevin King is not letting Matt Danson get away.
No, and you talked about that perfectly, coming out of that kink coming off the chicane there on the start-finish line. That's going to be a challenge all race long. You just watch Matt Danson. He caught a little bit too much of the curb on exit right there and didn't really allow him to get back on the throttle. That allowed Kevin King to stay with him. Now, granted, the infield portion of this track is where I feel like that these two were evenly matched, but you see right here, they go through the backstretch chicane. They stay perfect. It was 2/10 of a second separates them, but the draft, you see the draft starting to collide them back together. You get back on NASCAR's 1 and 2, 3 and 4 right here, into this one. This is the money spot. This is where Kevin King has to put some pressure on him and allow things to work. He has to allow himself to get to the bumper, because by the time they get to one, it's game. It's, I believe, oh, Kevin King just laid the fastest lap of the race.
Yes, he did, as he continues to challenge from the race lead. That's because they're putting time on everybody else while also closing the gap. And now here's a really good opportunity. Looking to the inside through turn number 4. They're going to run all the way beyond that blue line. Might as well get rid of it. Using all of the paved part of the racetrack. They had a nice arc. Turn number 5. Now up the hill, slowing it all the way down to 60 miles an hour in 6. Downhill, turn 7, out to the wall. Cut turn 8 close. And now up and on to the 24 degrees of bank and back on the super speedway, and off and away they go. Kevin King applying the pressure on Danson, something that the 38 car not used to. Of course, Kevin King has had some good showings on the road races this year. He's also had very good showings though this round. A P2 at Texas, a P5 at Talladega. So both he and Agno Phillip, as they run on track the top 5 of their way through this entire round. And you take a look at the points, well, P2 doing more than enough. Both King and Danson would advance if their positions held.
Yeah, and I want to touch on we talked about the story coming into this race right here with Cody Harris. And Joker's up to 11th, by the way. Hustling as Matt Danson goes out and says, hey, anything you can do, Kevin King, I can do better. Lays a 118.9 down. We'll see those speeds increase as the tires get some heat in them. They begin to wear. Road courses for some reason in the next gen car hasn't really fell away. But you see Cody Harris trying to put the pressure here on Sam Nieto. Sam Nieto's not known as a road racer. He's openly admitted to us that he's not there. Cody Harris a step above. And with this being the last road course of the season, Evan, it's going to be crucial to get as many points as you possibly can before we get to the Vegas, the Homestead, the Martinsville, because you never know what's going to happen on the mile-and-a-half cookie cutter tracks. This is your last wild card to prove what you got.
And with those moves, again, Harris not really in jeopardy. 4th in the points as they run right now. Nick Silver's the guy I'm looking at. 13th position, -5 to the cut line. Not the greatest road course racer of the playoff guys, right? You can take the look, challenge it off, and down into the bus stop. He stays in 12th. He's gained a spot from the beginning of this race. But that's about what Nick Silver is looking to get out of this race, right? He got a 11th place finish in our last road course race at Watkins Glen, right? A top 10 is what he can do, and what, you know, there's a couple spots up the road that I think is within striking distance of, but look, there's also 3-4 cars right behind him, right? So he can get a little bit more, but he's gonna need Casto to lose more. He's gonna need Freenosh to lose more, and I think it might end up coming down to those 3 drivers or so. Lariah in the mix as well, but he's up at 5th on the racetrack. But I think 6, 7, 8 are the drivers that Silver and Johnson are gonna need to have issues, because I don't know if they're gonna be able to pass 7 cars to make up that gap.
Well, I mean, you think about it. You see right here coming into turn 8. If you slip, you barely catch the wall, you get on the gas too soon. You catch the outside wall right there coming into the corner. That's Toe Link City. You know, anything could happen. You could knock one of these competitors could knock the toe link out and have crucial damage to come down pit lane. That's the opportunity you're going to need. You're going to need some wheel hopping. You're going to need them to catch those curves too much and bounce it through the corners, catch a wall somewhere. I don't want to pray for misfortune for any of the drivers out there, but if you're talking about Silver, you're talking about Michael Johnson, you kind of need to. You need to start thinking, well, dang, you know, maybe if I would have had a better race 2 weeks ago at wherever we were at, Texas, or maybe if I could have had a better strategy for Talladega, I wouldn't be in this position here. And you come to a racetrack that openly and admittedly everybody said this isn't my best track unless you're obviously sitting here in this top 6 or, well, hell, top 2. It's not their favorite racetrack. The points add up through the season, and I'm sure at some point in time, Nick Silver, not Johnson, they're all going, dang, I probably could have gotten stage points in race number 2, or I could have raced harder in this race. I would say that their chances are probably slim and none right now.
And it's tough for Nick Silver specifically, right? We talk a lot about him because right now he's the first driver on the outside looking in. He has been very good in these playoffs. He got a 9th at Texas, but it was that P22 last week at Talladega that set him back, right? The unpredictability, the carnage of those playoff races at Dega. that ends up being the difference maker, and it's hard to swallow that, right? I think it's almost more easily digestible if you can look back at a couple of intermediates. Say he made a bad pit cycle at Texas, right? Had a top 10 car and threw it away and got 17th. I think that's more digestible than knowing you lost the points at Dega, because you can only do so much to control your fate at a place like Talladega Superspeedway. So silver with a B22 finish. That was the third or fourth worst finish of all the playoff cars in that race last week. That is why the 4 car is on the outside looking in. Of course, you can see dancing in purple on your KaloSynthetics.com leaderboard. Of course, that's because he's currently in the race lead in this race, and therefore to win in your position, but points likely going to lock himself in as is. And look at the battle behind them as we head into the infield part of the road course. A bit of a 3-way belt for 13th on back. William Schmidt has got it, but Sam Nieto wants it. Nieto has struggled mightily, down 8 spots, Terry, from the get-go in that 2 car.
Yeah, and it hasn't been pretty for him. I mean, we saw him just a little while ago battling the 28 of Cody Harris. I don't think he really has the balance here, and this isn't me being critical of Sam Nieto, because I think he's a phenomenal race car driver. Across the board, he's probably one of the best drivers, hands down, in RSR. But this is a racetrack that you have to put a lot of time, you have to put a lot of effort in. Maybe this is him just feeling the racetrack out. If you go do a practice session, you go do a test session here, you can mimic the weather to an extent. But sometimes the weather changes, right? Sometimes it'll go away. You'll get a cloud somewhere. You'll start to think of something a little different. Maybe the car is feeling different than what you had in your practice session. He's kind of stopped the bleeding. So yeah, he's not really running what he was running earlier. It's the battle for 4th heats up too. That's battle of playoff drivers with Michael Araya. He's all over the back bumper of Andrew Freenach here.
Andrew Freenach, a 2-time race winner here at RSR competition at the Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval, dealing with a lot of Michael Araya, and has been since the get-go. These cars have not moved. They started 4.5. They run 4.5 right now, about 7 seconds off of the race leader. Sounds like a little bit of radio chatter as well. A little bit further back in the field as Schmidt and Nieto are heating things up, and it looks like Freenach able to hold a bit on to Michael Araya here. Araya, another critical name in this battle, and there's a car spun around in turn number 1 on the super speedway. That is David Kolb sideways in front of a couple of cars. Again, there are no yellows in these road course races, so he's just gonna sit there and try to get going. And I don't know if it was broken on the right rear, but that thing is not turning.
Remember what I said, right? You see the replay. It's about to come up here. Toe Link City. Everything is going to bounce. It looks like maybe he backed her into the wall back there, and that back tire did not want to spin. Is the wonderful producer we have here is going to throw the replay up for us. Looks like right here they're going to come down. This is the last couple corners in the infield. Him and Cody Harris start to make contact there, and then they go to the sweeper here for 8. Cody gets clear. He's got Brandon Bowie right behind him. He just caught the wall, and then around it goes.
Looks like it's already broke there.
Oh yeah, it broke when he hit the wall coming into 8, and then he backs it in even harder on the exit there. And yeah, that's toe and game over.
Tough break. Talk about that new damage model affecting drivers, and Kolb out just like that. He's not the only one. Benazzi Major also has gone to the garage. Eric Stanford is also on pit road. So 3 cars out of this one early. There you see Stanford parked on the pit lane at the conclusion of lap number 7. No obvious mechanical issue on that race car. Dancing to pull it away up front. Let's see what happened with Eric Stanford a lap down. This is on the super speedway part of the racetrack off of 2 on the oval, but here on the Roval, you're already talking about going to turn 11 to the bus stop chicane. Talk about the abrasiveness of the curbs down at that end of the racetrack. He got a little bit of them, but looked to be clean through that part of the racetrack. Then he heads up to 3 and 4 of the oval. That's 13 and 14 of the Roval, and brings the car in. So I wonder if he had gotten maybe a little bit of minor damage contact earlier in the race. But Stanford also wasn't really running that high, Terry, and any sort of setback there, you figure, listen, I'm not going to really make up these spots. So his night is done. That's good for Kolb, because Kolb gets one more position ahead ahead. Cobb's going to fall to 22nd. Stanford likely to finish 23rd ahead of Nazi Major 24th. But those look like the three drivers with issues and out of the race early.
Well, you remember what I said to start the race when we talked about parts of this racetrack that could present a challenge to these next-gen cars. I alluded all the way back to Watkins Glen, where we were sitting here calling this race, and out of nowhere, guy drips the tires off into the rumble strips, lands it down, breaks the toe link, breaks the tire rod, breaks something in that car, and just shot him into the tire barriers on there. In my only observation when it comes to these drivers hitting the wall and breaking the toe link, it's like a toothpick. You're sitting there, you're trying to get something out of your teeth, and then bam, it breaks. Well, that's what these cars are doing when they hit that wall. The new damage model has allowed, it's now time over damage. So whenever you make some contact to the wall, it's not how hard you hit the wall, it's about how long you stay in the wall. Now, granted, there's certain instances where you hit that wall and it's like, oh, that was a big hit. Your race is probably over. But if you barely scrape it, like him jumping the turtles there, or what you call them, sausage bumps, and you barely hit the little sausage plate right there, and then bam, your race is over. Because there's something different. It starts to jumble. The wheel starts to bounce like a basketball. Things begin to occur. As Michael Araya, he's all over the back bumper of that 88 in the infield portion, but he's getting his butt kicked in the chicane areas here.
Yeah, the sausage curb shows that I get up at 6 a.m. to watch F1 a lot as of late, as opposed to the turtles. But I do say curbs with a C in my brain, not a K. So we're not fully, in F1 mode here. But, you'll see those thick turtle or sausage curbs at a lot of racing facilities around the world. And they tend to tear up race cars. So the only positive here is virtually you're going to tear up a car. I know they're quite a controversial curb throughout the world. We're watching a battle with Freenosh, Laraya, and company against some of the best in the series. And they can't even hold a flame to the speed that we're seeing at a Danson and King. And respectably, also Agnell Phillip. I know Agnell's not with these two, but he's hanging on about 4 seconds back. He has been pretty impressive, and there he is again. He doesn't need to run this race at all, right? One at Texas, he's locked in, but assuming this would hold, and we're a long way from there, but he seems to pretty clearly, Terry, have P3 speed in this race. If this could hold, Agnell Phillip would have results in the round of 12 of a first, a third, and a third. I mean, that's just incredible what the 94 is doing when it matters the most.
At one point in time, I'm pretty sure I wrote Agnell Phillip off. And I don't know why I wrote him off, but he's proven me wrong. He's proven a lot of the people wrong that might have put him outside that top 4 position. Because this round right here was the toughest round of all of them, Evan. And I hate that you wasn't here for him, because, we watched some very good racing. We watched some good racing at Texas. We watched some darn good racing at Talladega. That was by far one of the best races all season long when it came start to finish. It was true racing at its finest. And Agnell Phillip showed, hey, I might not have been good in the regular season. I was good enough to get here. He was great right now. And if he continues that next round, because, he's locked in, so if he goes to Vegas, Homestead, and there, as Nick Silver has an issue, I believe he overshot the chicane.
Well, that is not ideal timing for Nick Silver to miss the chicane and to lose a bunch of spots, because he was starting to make up some ground on those live playoff standings. Let's take a look at it. Nick Silver was 11th at the time. You can see his updated running order already showing 16th. No pressure from behind. Gas. As soon as he got onto the gas, RPMs were high. He spun that race car around. It is going to cost Nick Silver 5 positions on track. I think he was only 3 back on the live standings. If we can take a look at what that updated number is for him, right on the money, -5. It is now an 8-point difference for Nick Silver. And just when things started to trend his direction, that's a huge blow.
Yeah, that is a massive blow, but think about the speed he has, and he has a lot of time. 55 laps around a 17-turn road course, that's an eternity. You have forever. You have a lot of mistakes that are still left to be made. You start to look, Connor Horn's catching up to Freenosh. He's catching up to Michael Araya. That could spell disaster. That could be a troublesome threesome right here. And then also you got Cody Harris getting into this. He's 2.5 seconds back. Now he's 2.2 seconds behind. This could start to develop as we go along. That's the pack that we're going to see most of the race. You know, whoever you're racing around right now, it's majorly who you're going to be around. As you see Tom Wetmore, he got around Sam Nieto and moved Nieto down another position. This is a surprising run for the 51 machine.
It is a pretty good showing for Tom Wetmore, and of course, disappointed I think he is the fact that you look at how the playoffs have shook out, and the fact that was able to get into the playoffs but unable to advance out of the round of 16, having a good showing. Proving a point. You could also see that Nick Silver is now only 7 points back. He didn't really pass anybody. It's because there was issues with Harry Grindle. The 70 car on his own was running ahead of Silver after they had updated their running order, and you can see that Grindle was running along. He was in a battle for position here, really trying to chase down and challenge Sean Casto. So this was the battle for 14th to 15th position, and we're going to watch it all the way through this infield portion and watch when they come back up and onto the banking when he starts to close.
Yeah, he's just riding along, doing his thing, comes down in turn 7 into turn 8. And this is the trouble portion. He catches the wall.
Broken right front.
Broken instantly the moment he tapped that wall right there. That's an absolute killer. I was talking to Matt Danson earlier when we were talking about him he said he's sick. He's going to try Michael Jordan flu game, and as soon as Grindle hit that wall, broke, and hard into the wall he goes. That's race over.
So that is a tough break for him. He is at least the second of the drivers that we've seen tonight to get into that wall, to have a catastrophic damage to the front suspension. And now that car is out of the race as well. Grindle to the garage. So takes another driver out of the race. Again, gives a free spot back to Nick Silver. Silver has a couple of consequential passing opportunities coming up, and he wants Michael Lariah to get on Andrew Freenosh. Right? I mean, Freenosh has a couple of cars on him. Lariah's right there. Horn's right there. I mean, if Andrew puts a foot wrong, there's at least 2-3 cars that can pounce. Meanwhile, Silver's got a couple of cars that he can strike on. So Nick Silver is not dead yet. Not by a long shot still, with 40 laps to go in this race.
Well, I tell you, he might not be dead yet, but I think your Raiders might be trying to kill the Kansas City Chiefs. Not too sure if that's going to be a thing. But I kind of want to bring up a point that might be a moot point, and people might hate me after I say this, but I thought this next-gen car was supposed to be a road racing car. I thought this was supposed to be a good damage place for the road courses. But that's 2 cars that have just scraped the wall, and I mean barely scraped the wall. We saw the replay from Josh Lee. Grindle barely touched the darn thing, and the totaling brakes on it. So I would be interested to hear, because we saw it in the Cup race too, where we saw some issues that kind of came along and presented themselves. As right here, Nick Silver gets another position up to 14th, but that's surprising to me, because these cars were built to be a little bit more durable, a little bit more sustainable. But just a small little hiccup, just a little bit close to that wall, and your race is over. That kind of stinks a little bit. It's oh my goodness, 118.7.
That was faster than the pole lap that was used to secure the top spot in this race. That was, we talking about 118s. That was King's 118.840. So 118.799, better than that. And they still got room to go. I would not be surprised at all. And again, it's going to depend on if Kevin King stays there, right? If King starts to slip back a little bit, I don't think Danson needs to push. But as these cars get lighter and there's less fuel in them, you're not losing a bunch of tires. I think there's still maybe 3 to 4 tenths of a second to be made up.
I want somebody to teach me how to make that time up and how to run a 118 or a 108.7. I kind of want to see that as well. But it's shocking to me, as if he really doesn't have to push. He's got a 1.5 second lead over Kevin King. He kind of could just chill up a little bit. But this is the battle right here that we need to just look at wholeheartedly, because you have 4 playoff drivers that are sitting right here. One bobble, one mistake, one lockup from Lariah, from Connor Horn, from Cody Harris when they get in this bundle right here. And our live standings over here, brought to you by Kalis Synthetics. It could spell a big disaster in these playoffs. None of these drivers here can afford to have a bad run. Connor Horn needs to win the darn thing. Michael Lariah, Freenage, Cody Harris just need to be content. But they're getting awful close to one another with some very tight corners in their future.
And Freenage almost appears to be backing this field up, right? Last time we checked in, I noted that, Lariah was there in the mix as well, and you had the 67, but Harris was pretty far off. Harris is down there, and it's a contact. The 67, a Horn, got touched after a really gutsy move by Cody Harris to go up the inside in 6 and 7. They both hang on, and now that alleviates some of the pressure that Andrew Freenage was feeling, because all those third and fourth cars in line have dropped the back just a little bit. But look at now, Silver has picked up an additional spot. He's passed Sean Casto. Nick Silver now 14th on the racetrack. The gap is back down to 6, and Freenage could realistically lose up to 3 spots with the cars behind him. The question is going to be, if that's worst case scenario for Andrew, then where can Silver find the remaining spots, right? He's not that far off. 2 seconds behind is Tom Wetmore up the road. 3 seconds is Nieto. Then William Schmidt you might be able to get to, but Schmidt is 7 seconds up the road. And then Brandon Bowie's 25. So there's no way he's getting there. So Terry, he realistically has about 3 cars that he can get up to, and realistically Freenage could lose about 3 to 4. So he's going to need this to really go his way, and he's really going to need Andrew Freenage to get caught up to by this group. But Mike Lariah doesn't seem too pressed to force the issue on the 88 at the moment.
Well, I mean, if you're Michael Lariah, I'll play devil's advocate for a second, because I love this. I love doing it. Who would you rather have in the playoffs right now in the next round? Would you rather have Andrew Freenage, or would you rather have Nick Silver? Because I'm taking Nick Silver. I'm getting Andrew Freenage out. I want him gone. So if I'm Michael Lariah, what's your best chance of making the Final Four? Is it with Andrew Freenage in the race, who's been statistically one of the best on mile and a half, very good on short track? I want him gone. So I would be forcing the issue. I would be playing this as a strategy of best case scenario. Michael Lariah gets into the next round pretty handsomely there. We're not really having the debate if Michael Lariah gets eliminated or not. I want Nick Silver. No offense to Nick Silver, but has he really been that good all season? He's been there, but he hasn't really been there? I would be forcing this issue. And by the way, I don't know if we saw it, but Kevin King and Matt Jansen both just laid some epic laps down on the field.
Another new fastest lap of the race for Danson. That's now, by the way, going to show as blue on your scoring tower there. So Danson, blue at the top of the board, has the fastest lap of the race now with a 1:18.770. And again, if they don't pick up tires at the midway point for pit stops, then you're going to see a lot more of that in the second half of this race. Agnew Phillip tripling to 7 seconds back. I mean, this is really the most consequential stuff on track, right? I know it's not the closest stuff you're seeing, but this is big, because the mere concept that Andrew Freenage may not advance to the round of 8 is unfathomable. Andrew Freenage has won every RSR Full Throttle Cup Series championship since 2018. The 18, the 19, the 20, and the 21 champ. And trying to go for an unprecedented 5-peat. We've seen so many years where it seems like it might be finally the chink in the armor. A new driver comes in, a new challenger comes, and the great equalizer this year, this new car, Freenage dedicating a lot of time, of course, to competing on that road to pro ladder. And you just have to wonder, because I've been fooled many times by this. I've been convinced, 3-4 different occasions that it was it. The run was over. And somehow, some way, he always finds a way to do it. And that's why I have learned by this point to never count out Andrew Freenage.
like I said, I go back to my point that I said a while ago. If I'm the drivers behind him, that no disrespect, and like I said, Andrew Freenage is going to go watch this race. I don't need him mad at me that I said something to upset him. He was slowing the field. That pack of 3 that's behind him, he was backing him up a tad bit. And I don't know if he did it intentionally, if he was just kind of preserving his tires. He was like, I don't really want to force the issue right now. But if I was Michael Araya, I was Cody Harris, I was Connor Horn, I'm forcing the issue. I don't want to see the 88 car if I'm a driver in the next round of the playoffs. I don't want to put 4 time in there with the rest of them. If you already know you're Michael Araya, you know you're Cody Harris, you know you're making it. Connor Horn doesn't know that. He's on the outside looking in. He has to win this race to go to the next round. But if you're a driver in it, you need to be up there on his back bumper, just making him respect you, making him move, and seeing how far can you push Andrew Freenage. He's a champion, but this car has proven everybody's human. I mean, we saw Matt Danson, Kevin King, Agnell Phillip, they've been up at the top. We really haven't seen Andrew Freenage do that here this year. He hasn't been there competing for a ton of wins. But I don't want to see an angry Andrew Freenage going into the next round with no road to pro. There's no more left. You know, he has all attention, all focus right here on RSR. I don't want to see that in a round of 8. I want to see somebody in there that necessarily doesn't run up front with us all the time. Somebody that I know I could potentially beat in that next round to get to the Final Four or be really close to it.
And for Andrew as well, I mean, you mentioned that, right? I mean, if he has a week where he can dedicate the time in practice that he's used to doing, he can go out there and blitz the field. And the thing for Andrew is he was 4th at Texas. There's no reason he should be at the cut line, but we go way back to what I talked about on Nick Silvers in the position he was because he had the 4th worst finish out of all your playoff cars at Dega. Guess who had the worst of them all? Yep. Andrew Freenage, 33rd at Talladega last week. That is the only reason why he is in this position. And man, I got to think that this is the most pressure he's been feeling in a long time. Laria's starting to get a little bit more choppy, but still not on the bumper. And to his credit, Freenage, I'm sure a big reason why he's not going to roll over. But again, Laria's there, Horn is there, Harris back on the bumper. So after the 67 and the 28 got together a couple laps ago, they're back up there. Windmaster not far off, Johnson not far off. I mean, Andrew Freenage may be the most vulnerable car in the running order at this moment.
Yeah, we go back to Dega. Right, we look at Dega, and I know we can circle that and say that was the cherry on top across the board. Like that was the spot that put a lot of these drivers in the position they was in. I go back to the early portion of the season. Like I get we're in the playoffs and we're going to look at what we did in the last race, not what we're going to do in the future. What we did the last race. There's positions that were lost and gained in a lot of these races. You look at some of the worst finishes this season, the plate tracks. We thought Andrew Freenage last week was in a great position to win the thing. On pit sequence, he came out, he was up front, he was doing his thing, but a untimely caution. The first caution of that evening took him out. It didn't take his teammate out, it took him out. And it was just wrong place, wrong time. But you have to think, if he would have did a different strategy, we talked about strategy a while ago, maybe if he would have flipped that and came down the 2 laps prior and separated himself from the pack that wrecked, because he was sitting, I think, 10th when the caution came out at Dega in the first one and took him with it. If he would have pitted with the other guys that pitted, that were the 1 through 8, I think was the top 8 was the guys who pitted first. Maybe we were not talking about Andrew Freenage being down here. And at no point in our time here at RSR, in these races we've called, have we ever thought for certain that we would be calling a race with him potentially not in this playoff field going into there. Most of us had him circled for the Final Four at Phoenix. That's where we put him. We didn't think that here we are at the Roval, and if he loses 4 positions or he loses 5 positions, he's going to get passed. That wasn't in our vocabulary. That would have been blasphemous, Evan.
Yeah, even with the year that he has had, I don't think anybody thought that it was a question that he was going to be at minimum in contention to make it into those championship 4. Of course, there's plenty more going on the racetrack. William Schmidt is up 3 spots from where he started, and the Sam Nieto World Tour to the bottom has continued. He is continuing to slide down the running order, and in 12th position, still at a -6, but trying to pick up the pieces. From that rough start, he was -8 at one point, so I'll give him credit. He's trying to work his way back up, but of the cars active on the racetrack, nobody has lost more spots than Sam Nieto, and I'm curious why, because he was real good in practice and he was really good in qualifying. So he's just looking to find his footing. Again, the lack of the wear means that if you're fast, you're going to be able to make up that time over the course of the run, no doubt about it, and I think he may have the upper hand in this battle with William Schmidt, but we'll have to keep an eye on it as the fight for 11th continues.
Mic drop from Evan. I like it. And I like this new fire side of you here in RSR. This is, I don't know if it was your trip to Australia or not, but it was a sick burn. As you look here, they come down the back straightaway, going into the first chicane. Sam Nieto is going to get the run down. And Nieto doesn't have to have a perfect night. He's still in advance, and he's in a position to roll. They come off the corner or off the chicane. This is going to be a setup. Can he get himself to driver's right in this next little corner? Maybe dive him a tad bit. Maybe be a little aggressive in that Ford Cobra there. It's still the best looking car on the track every week. I say it every week. That number 2 always comes out with a fire scheme. But William Smith's not rolling over, my man. That 79 machine, very impressive so far. Up 3 positions to the 11th spot. We could be talking about him in a good top 10 run. He's just going to catch Brandon Bowie in the 34th.
Brandon DeBuey, somebody else who probably didn't think he would be in this position either, right? Eliminated from the playoffs in the opening round. He is the second highest running non-playoff driver. Only Jaron Weinmaster in P8 is higher than Brandon DeBuey, and Brandon DeBuey and company trying to stay ahead of some of the other battles on the racetrack, including this one with William Schmidt and Nieto. That's kind of where the big separation is, because Bowie is 20 seconds, 2-0 ahead of these two. There they are, front stretch with a little bit of pit action. In fact, down to the pit lane is Michael Johnson. Not the first car to come in tonight, but I think the second of scheduled service. Eric Papineau pitted 4 laps ago, and no shock, because next time by we're going to be halfway home and should see a lot of it, and likely going to be all for fuel.
Yeah, Matt Danson, when we were talking earlier, he gave me some points and keys to the race, and he said, we're not taking tires. It'll be straight fuel only, and that'll take us to the very end of the race. But Ross Cato came down on lap 24. It was no shock there, just to try to make a little positions up here and there wherever you can. But I'm going to be shocked to see when these leaders come down. It's not really going to make a big difference because, speed-wise, they're kind of there. I'm kind of curious to see if Kevin King tries to short pit, try to do the undercut here. I don't think speed-wise is going to make a big difference, but Kevin King's been faster. It was a 119 flat there for Matt Danson. It was a 118.8 for Kevin King. So not the runaway that most of us thought. It's been rather close, and it's just a bobble away from having a battle for the lead.
1.2 seconds, the gap now. It had gotten to a maximum of 1.5, sat there for a while, and now late in this run, Kevin King has started to turn the pressure back up. Remember, it was King who bested Danson in qualifying. It was King who bested Danson with the fastest times on the practice sheet, but it was Danson who, side by side through the first couple of corners, was able to get the race lead away and has led every single lap since that point. Watching the fight for 4th on back again. What you're seeing on your Kayla Synthetics leaderboard is the interval, right? That is the gap to the next closest car. Lariah, half a second back. Harris, half a second. Horn, 2/10. Winemaster, only a second. Bowie, only 2 back. I mean, realistically, it is a 6-car battle, 4th through 9th right now.
And didn't you say this in the early portions of this race, that we kind of understood who first and second would be with qualifying and in practice? We were fully aware of how this race was probably going to shake out, but third's pretty much locked unless something crazy happens to Agnew Phillip. But fourth on back has been a show all race long where all of these drivers, a couple of them have something to lose. A couple of them are looking right here with Connor Horn to probably get eliminated. And then we also have to look at the 88. He could potentially get eliminated as well if Nick Silver makes the climb up these charts and he slips back a tad bit. But all in all, man, this has been the best battle across the board. I mean, we went halfway through this race. And they haven't left each other's side. Here comes William Smith. He's going to come down pit road here. So one of our front-ish runners back there in 11th position, gonna make up a little time here and maybe try to undercut this and see where it sets him out.
The undercut, we always talk about the advantage. Drivers trying to come in early, and we tend to see it on the ovals be a huge window, right? 10 to 20 plus laps at times, get the fresh tires. You're really just looking to get away, right? Get a little bit of clean racetrack. That is what best case scenario you can get out of it here on a road course. And to the point of Papanow, he has gone to the garage. So I know we referenced him a little bit ago. His night appears to be done as well. However, I don't think that is a position gained for Nick Silver. I think Silver was ahead of him regardless. So if that is the case, it doesn't make that battle for the final transfer spot any closer. And that is about the 7th car who has gone to the garage tonight. Papanow joins Grindle, Sexton, Davis, Kolb, Stanford, and Major as the drivers who were unable to get us to the halfway point. And while we wait on the majority of our race leaders to come down pit road, let's recap what we've seen in the first half of this one and take a look at your Kayla Synthetics midway race break. Matt Danson has led all 29 laps to this point and holds a 1.2 second lead over Kevin King, as King is trying to become the first driver to deny Danson a road course race win this year. Agnew Phillip, the middleman in all of it, 8 seconds off of the race leader, but 22 seconds ahead of the next closest driver. He is comfortably sitting in third in this race. And then the battle of the night. Andrew Freenosh has not held off from 4th place all night. He has been strong in that position, but under fire because Lariah is in 5th. Cody Harris, who failed to qualify, remember that? Up 20 spots nearly to 6th. You got Connor Horn in 7th, Winemaster in 8th, Bowie's in 9th. They are all in that battle, and now Kevin King will pit for the race lead as Sam Nieto rounds out your top 10.
And you got Tom Wetmore back there in 11th, Nick Silver, Sean Casto, Brandon Fetterplace, William Smith, Michael Johnson, and then it becomes a used car lot from from there on back. You get into your Eric Papanow, your Harry Grindell, Gary Sexton, Grant Davis, David Kolb, Eric Stanford, and Benazzi Major, all off the racetrack. This is interesting. Kevin King's on pit road. He only fell to 3rd. He's back on the racetrack. That just showed you the pure dominance that they had. They didn't lose nothing. He just falls into the clutches right here with Andrew Freenosh, and then by the time they pit, he's got a 20-plus second gap again.
And it's real telling that he spent 13.2 seconds in the box. That's enough time to get 4 tires, but still the call was fuel only. That's a look top to bottom at your Kayla Synthetics midway race break. Kayla Synthetics is an independent dealer of AMSOIL lubricants serving the United States and Canada, providing custom engine lubrication solutions to all types of customers, from private individuals to race teams, hauling fleets, and everything in between. They have the products and expertise to help you save time and money. Dealer number 300-71815. So because King pitted up front to kick things off, Danson responds. Your race leader is in pit road. Agnew Phillip is shortly behind. And those are big ones as Michael Araya is spinning on the front straightaway. The 44 car appears to be heavily damaged. And was that a pit stop gone wrong? Danson is in and out. And Kevin King will be behind Matt Danson. Danson was quicker on the box, maybe took a little bit less fuel, and the race lead will not change. King unable to complete that undercut, and he is still within striking distance, but Danson a little bit later is able to protect that track position, and he's able to maintain the race lead.
Let's get a good laugh for a second with that point. I think Ryan was trying to come to pit road and just locked him. Oh, we're going to we're going to go a little further back here. There's contact there, maybe a little bit with Cody Harris. Yeah, producer's talking to us in the ear. He was trying to come down. Oh no, he was trying to come down pit road, caught the apron, and Cody Harris is in him. But you talked about a guy being a little faster in the box with Matt Danson. 13.0 to a 13.2. So not a whole lot of a difference there, but that 10th, it was 0.8 of a second when they came down pit road when Kevin King decided to pull it in the box. Well, goes out to a second. So smart strategy there, having to take less fuel by, they pitted a 1 lap in between, but it feels like eternity, but small contact. And yeah, that's a question Michael Arias should be asking. I'm surprised there wasn't no expletives in there of what happened, because rear toe link destroyed on the 44 machine.
That one's so tough to tell because it looked like Lariah was coming to pit road, hit the apron, and then bounced back up in front of Cody Harris.
Indeed.
So I understand the frustration. Cody is the one who evidently got into him, but I think if Michael Lariah gets to the apron as designed, that doesn't happen.
You're absolutely right. I mean, you're absolutely right. It's going to happen here, though. You think about the speeds that they're carrying in the corners. While this is set up for a road course, while a lot of these drivers have it in their minds and the cars feel different, you can go race the Charlotte Oval here, and you can try to make a sharp right turn or a sharp left turn. You're not going to do it on a dime. You're not going to do it as fun as what you do it here. The cars are set up very different. So when he went down to get on the apron, instead of right about there, right where you just saw Matt Danson come down, you would think that you're starting like to get off the exit ramp on the interstate. You think that you're just going to pull down right there, and you're going to try to carry as much speed as possible to get on the brakes. But he couldn't do it. He couldn't get it below that blue line right there to get himself stopped. And tough break is Cody Harris just barely touches him. No damage on the 28, luckily for him. But Michael Lariah, that should be game over. And we'll have to see where the playoff points shake, because that's another position for Nick Silver. And that spells a little bit issues there for the 88 of Freenage.
That is going to be a position gained for Silver, and unfortunately for Michael Lariah, of course, again, without that new damage model, he would have likely been able to just turn that car around and actually sneak back on the pit road, but because of the huge damage it caused to the rear assembly, he had to tow to pit road, and Michael Lariah is still yet to return to the racetrack in this race. That is a big hit for him. Of course, playoff car came in tonight only 3 above the cut line. So how does that impact where Lariah sits in the live standings as we see more drivers cycle in and out of pit road? And look at that. Lariah, based on that, is now out. And I think very thankful for that is both Freenage and Silver, because if Lariah hadn't dropped out, you'd be looking at a 1-point difference. Instead, Freenage in, Silver in, and I don't see a way Lariah makes up those points as he has fallen off of the lead lap and he is not currently in that race car.
He unfortunately is going to need Nick Silver to wreck. Granted to the fact that he'll finish 1 spot ahead of him based off the points themselves. If that was to happen, and he was to flip-flop here and Nick Silver was to have another issue and fall back to 16th, that would put Michael Lariah in based off of, points in general. But Nick Silver doesn't seem to be having that issue. He's running fine, has yet to pit. So for Nick Silver, as he comes in now, we'll see where this actually shakes him out to. A lot of these drivers, he was behind. So we'll see if they jump him, and then we'll see a real accurate depiction of, or I think that wasn't a real word, but whatever, I'll use it.
Can be.
Well,
roll with it.
Now, I'll roll with it. It's a good depiction of what we're going to see here with Nick Silver on these playoff boards, because Nieto's going to pass him. Schmidt, Wetmore, Castro, Johnson, maybe even Brandon Fetterplace could jump up there and put him back to the 15th position.
Yeah, so this is going to be the equal and opposite reaction, right? He gains position from other cars pitting. He will now lose positions as he comes down pit road, but he just passed Michael Lariah. Lariah is still on pit road. I would expect that the damage on that race car is either terminal, or he's going to be down there for a significant amount of time to get that rear end fixed. And that incident may go down as what takes Michael Laraya out of these playoffs. A driver with 3 top 5s this year, 9 top 10s. Very impressive numbers, but struggled in this round. A 21st at Texas, made up for it with a P11 at Talladega. But at the end of the day, it comes down to what happened there on the pit road entry. Meanwhile, up front, Matt Danson starting to deal with some lap traffic, and it is giving Kevin King a little bit of hope here. He's slowed down by that 52 of Sean Casto. They'll dive underneath through turns 9 and 10 up on the super speedway, and Kevin King's going to get on through, but we have not seen it this close, Terry, since the opening laps.
This is wild to say that the 52 is the 13th car on this racetrack. He sits P13. He just went a lap down to these two drivers, and you're right, it's a 10th of a second. Kevin King has an opportunity here to do something that nobody else has done. That was our pole sitter, mind you, as he dives it in. No, oh my gosh, they both wreck.
Contact in the battle for the race lead, but the next closest car is so far back it does not matter. So they touch into the final of the chicanes. It was King on the inside of Danson in turn 16, and after the contact, it's Danson who gets rolling first. Let's wind it all the way back to the exit of the bus stop in turn 12. Onto the high banks. Look at King. He's got the draft. It's his first real run of the night, and he'll go right. It's going to put him on the inside for turn 16, and Danson certainly came down, but I don't know if King was going to be able to slow that car down regardless. I mean, it was a gutsy move. Shades of Jimmy Johnson from a couple of years ago.
You know, that's the first thing that rings in my head. This takes cojones. I'm telling you, to make this move, what he just tried, I think Matt Danson knew he wasn't going to make that corner either, and just came down, barely touched him. But good on the 38. The 38 kept it off the wall. If he would have went nose first right there, race over for both of them potentially. We'll see what the damage on Kevin King's car is here in just a second as he goes bouncing through these curves. But yeah, he kind of came down, tried to make the apex of the corner, didn't want to get the cut, and then keeps it off the wall, gets a good forward motion there again. He goes behind the 52 once more of Sean Casto, but he catches him rather quickly, so no damage here for the 20 or the 38, and now the 31 is about to be 4 seconds behind him.
So through all of that, no change up front, guys, and that is because what happened to Agnell Phillip? Through all of the battles, completely missed the fact that the driver that was in third position spent 1 minute and 17 seconds on pit road. We were very clear early in the race that he's a third place car. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I wonder if he had some damage repairs that he felt like he needed to get fixed, but you can see there, but a contact to the wall, there's some right side damage. He spent 70 seconds on pit road and 52 seconds in the box, and that has dropped Agnell out of, again, maybe blame me. I said it was a surefire third. He's down to 8th position. And of course, there's really no effect in the championship because, Agnell is already in a position where he knows he's going to be racing in the next round. There's no question about that. But the top 5 streak at risk now because of that.
He might have had a speeding penalty as well. You can't overshadow that something could have occurred coming onto pit lane, could have been damaged, could have been something different. But I go back to that move that Kevin King just tried. It didn't really seek desperation to me that he thought that was his one opportunity to get by him. I just think maybe he misjudged how much room Matt Danson was going to give him there. Maybe Kevin King thought that Danson was going to just kind of back the corner up, maybe just let him go there in that corner. But this is an aggressive streak that Matt Danson's been showing. He's saying, hey, I'm a legit threat in these playoffs. I want to win every single race. He has thrown blocks. He has been a total different driver across this last round right here. As you see Cody Harris, he's trying to put the 67 of Connor Horn under attack right here for the 4th place position. This battle hasn't stopped even through a sequence of pit stops, Evan.
It's continued on, but it's lost cars, right? It was the battle for fourth. It becomes the battle for third after the issues to Agnell Phillip. And we lost a couple of cars out of the battle. It's now just a three-way fight. Winemaster not really in the mix. Bowie not really in the mix as well. They dropped significantly back. You also have to keep it in mind, looking at the run and, what these drivers still need to do. They've been able to pull away.
Connor Horn just hit the wall.
A lot of people hitting the wall. Did he get help? Or was it under braking? Because I saw that twitch. I don't think he got help. I think it might have just been a little bit too much on the binders on his own. And I think it was. A little bit of a touch, though. That's not enough to take the right side off of it. But what it has done is it has brought Harris and Horn close together.
That was a little bit, as Michael Orion comes back, he's 17th. He's a couple laps down here, 6 laps to be exact off of the pace here. So he's going to need something drastically to happen in the next about 10-ish laps, 9-ish laps as the 28 gets by the 67 here. The brake portion that you talked out there, at some point in time, drivers are going to have to adjust the brake bias a little bit. As the run progresses, you get a little bit more wear on the tires. They obviously haven't changed tires in this race, and they're not going to with the tire fall off not being existent in the road racing side. I wonder if maybe he dialed it up a little bit and just kind of thought, okay, if I overshoot this corner a tad bit, I can go one more reference point down. Instead of braking at the 4, I brake at the 3, or I brake at the 2, and then bam, he hits the wall a tad bit. But it crinkled that thing up. Oh my gosh, just Cody Harris used all the turtle there.
And now looking to the outside, it was very similar to the setup that we saw out of King and Danson for the race lead. Does Horn go for it? Contact as they head into the bus stop, and he is nowhere near making that turn. Harris is going to be able to take the track correctly. And now Connor Horn, you would think, would have to balance the slowdown?
Oh, yeah, he is. There it goes. He's slowing it down now, but bold
the
move.
benefit, I will say, is on iRacing, you used to not know how much time you would have, right, to give that time back. Now it'll count down. Hey, you got 20 seconds to give up 5. So he can be a lot more methodical about where he gives that time back than you could previously.
Well, and he did. He gave it back, but he didn't give it up by much. As we take a replay here, he'll get to the outside here for a second. And I kind of would have thought that maybe there was some bad blood there. Maybe there was contact. As he died, I mean, he goes right into the door of Cody Harris, and there was no way you're making that corner at a straight line. But the benefit for him was that Cody Harris had to back the corner up so much that it allowed him, whatever time he had to give back to iRacing, whatever time he had to get back on the track, he was able to give it back. And, oh, now he goes around. Oh, no, in the wall, and that, oh, did it break it? Maybe.
It was a pretty good hit. It hit front end first. It looks like that race car is still going much better than how many other drivers had ended up. And I think that's a lot of frustration, right? He got onto the turtles there. You could see the suspension get upset. The car was bouncing around. It wouldn't settle in. And I think that's a lot of frustration, right? He finished 30th at Talladega last week. Came into tonight 15 below the cut. It was not working for him. And just gets real frustrated when things start to go wrong, and that's a tough break for Connor Horn. It's also what it's going to do is, we talk about Lariah, Silver, Friedrich. I mean, Horn and Lariah were relatively in the same ballpark, and now it drops him even down further. So I think just a lot of frustration there into the 67 camp.
I mean, I would be mad too. You have to think of where he's kind of been sitting this whole race. He's been in that position. He's been there, obviously not winning speed, but he's been in that spot in top 5-ish all race long. We really haven't circled him and said, oh, you could win the race or whatever. We've kind of said top 5 would be the glass ceiling for him, but maybe a little contact. Maybe we didn't see the contact between Cody Harris and Connor Horn, and maybe that's what put him in the wall. Just slight contact, kind of lost control when he was under braking there. But that was the first hit we've seen all race long that the toe link didn't break. I mean, small damage hitting the wall right here coming into turn 8. He went head first into that wall, a little bit more on the passenger side. or in the driver's side, didn't break anything and allowed him to continue on. And I mean, you're sitting 6th still, so kind of needed to win it, but silver lining, you're still top 10 here.
You try to find those positives, try to close out on a high note, of course, and fight for what could be as high as an 11th in the standings when this season concludes at the end of the championship, when the title is decided on November the 7th at the virtual Phoenix Raceway. 13 laps to go, though, in this Charlotte Roval 125. Danson continuing, having led every single lap of the race, and now 4.5 seconds ahead of Kevin King, who right on cue, fastest of the night by a lot, 1:18.508. So impressive stuff from Kevin King, but the big loser in that pit cycle was King, and Danson seemingly now on cruise control to the end of this race as we continue to watch the battle with Horn, Phillip, and Bowie back here for P6.
Did anybody say a driver that's pissed off and just wanting to throw burner after burner down? That's Kevin King right now. I mean, the fact that he just went 2/10 faster than Matt Danson the whole race, and I mean, he covered the field. Everybody else, you look up and down the board, fastest lap-wise, I mean, Andrew Freeney's was a 1:19.3. He was a full minute or a full second faster than him. A full second faster than Cody Harris, Jaron Winemaster. You got to go back to Agnell Phillip to see a 1:18. There's only 3 drivers in this field that has cracked that mark, that hadn't been in the 1:19 fraction, and that's Danson, King, and Phillip. But what could have been for the 94? We talked about his strength. We talked about where he was sitting playoff-wise when first, I believe he finished 2nd or 3rd at Talladega, because obviously Brandon Bowie passed under the yellow line there to come across the line, but he's sitting 7th. He still has an opportunity here to gain a couple spots. I don't think he's going to catch back up to 3rd, but he's on the back bumper of Connor Horn here, and I don't think Agnell Phillip's going to roll over and just say, "Hey, I know I'm locked in, but I'm content with 7th at all."
And you referenced when we saw Danson dealing with some traffic. At that point, he was trying to get around Casto. He's now also lapped Michael Johnson, so that leaves 12 cars on the lead lap. That's officially half of the field who started this race. And to be fair, these aren't the longest laps in the world. Certainly not COTA, certainly not Road America, but that's pretty impressive pace. Like, the biggest thing that gets me is the fact, you got your top 2, 4 seconds, but 37 back to Andrew Freeney in 3rd. Realistically, Phillip should be in the mix there, but had whatever the issue he was on pit road. Agnell's got a spot back, though, and he's only a spot behind Horn here, which means that he's not totally lost hope for continuing the streak of top 5s. He and Kevin King could be the only drivers to secure a top 5 in each race of the round of 12. If they can finish top 5 tonight, King almost certainly will do so in 2nd. Phillip with some work to do after his issues, and credit to Horn, right? Seemed flustered, made those couple of mistakes, but he's got one of the fastest cars in the field, a car that on the stat sheets is significantly faster than he is, and he's holding him off. He's doing a good job.
He is doing a very good job, and frustration can come in many different ways on a road course. It's easy for me. The moment I start the car, right? The moment I start the car, I'm instantly frustrated. It never figured the roadside out. If anybody ever wants to teach me, hit me up on Twitter. I would love to take some pointers from anybody who wants to do it. As Agnell Phillip tries to go into 1 here, tries to get the inside, had to back it up a little bit more than Connor Horn. And Connor Horn's been the guy in the infield here among this pack of drivers. Agnell Phillip's kind of been a little bit more reserved in this portion here as he locks it up there going into 4. But if you're Matt Danson at the moment, don't play Clay Aiken too soon. Don't put your feet up on the dash and turn your favorite Clay Aiken CD on, because Kevin King's kind of there. He's starting to gain back up a little bit, putting some fast laps down. Got it to under 4 seconds for just a tiny bit, but race it over. 9 laps, little bobble. Lap traffic could come into play as Nick Silver trying to go into the top 11 here for one of the first times here tonight.
And trying to get his best showing of the afternoon, and Wetmore now ahead of Nick Silver for the moment. We'll see how this one plays out. Pressure has been strong from the 4-car, and we'll see if Silver can jump above that threshold. Challenging as they head back up onto the turn 1 of the speedway. That's 8, though, here on the Roval. In fact, exiting the infield's 8, and then the actual corners themselves are 9 and 10. I think we need to have a talk with whoever labels corners at a lot of these racetracks, Terry. The official map from NASCAR says 17. iRacing says 12. Maybe the answer's somewhere in the middle there, as Agnew Phillip is still trying to pass Connor Horn.
We have a Clay Aiken reference tonight. We have a call out for the next gen car. Oh, and a call out for track maps as well, and the labeling of corners. I think we fit the trifecta. We really need a RSR bingo card for the next race. We'll maybe get that in the next round or maybe next season. But you're right. I mean, you look at all the tracks that they've labeled. You could think of Pocono. Pocono could potentially be more corners than what they say it is. If you're counting entry and exits for the oval portions of these tracks, and you say 1 and 2 when it's literally one sweeping corner, you can just call it a 2-turn oval. Well, I kind of would say the same here for this place as well. You look, they're coming here into turn 6, 7, and 8, going back to NASCAR 2. You could make an argument that this is one sweeping corner, and 12 could be right on the money. But look at your race lead. I know I'm gonna harp this one till I'm blue in the face. This race is not over. And if you're Kevin King, how pissed off are you at Matt Danson that he did not give you the room in the last chicane and could have potentially cost you the chance to win this race? Do you see Kevin King pull that Kevin King out from earlier in this playoff run, or in the last portion of the regular season, where he gave no room to anybody? He would take the position at the short track. He would take the position at the 1.5 miles, and he would block you until you either moved him or you made him respect you. Is he going to go up there and make Matt Danson respect him on these road courses?
It is a statement opportunity. Remember, they both are tied for 5 race wins this year. Danson had the upper hand, and then Kevin King late in the regular season won 3 of 4. And then, of course, won the playoff opener. He has been the best driver as of late, so wanted to prove a point, but maybe a swing back in the other direction. Danson responded at Kansas, not Dancis, but we can call it that next year during the pre-race chatter since he did so good and got that oval win. But Danson at Kansas responded right away, right? Agnew Phillip, other drivers were starting to heat up. He had just saw Kevin King tie him and then pass him in the wins, and he said, all right, fair point. Won the following week. And now we have these 2 drivers, 1-2 in practice, 1-2 in qualifying, 1-2 in the race. It's hard not to think that it might come down to these 2 when we're racing in Phoenix.
Well, and I thought it was rather interesting. We'll go into the old DMs of Discord, because I had a very intriguing conversation with Matt Danson. I wrote him off. Remember when I said potentially that I didn't think that he was going to make that final round? And he sent me a statement, and he flat out said, I'm watching the race back and you doubted my speed, but I gained more than a second on the tires. And he said, by the way, I'm going to win this championship, and I'm going to dedicate it to you. I'm going to make you announce me as the champion. Like, he flat out just called me out. He goes, you said, oh my gosh, there it is. I told you the race had never hit the wall.
Race leader Matt Danson got into the wall when he was coming out of the infield portion in turn number 7. We have seen this happen with 2 cars earlier in the night, and now a third. A light, glancing, but flush blow to the right-hand side right here. That is all it took, and the car would not turn. It is terrible damage to the right front of Matt Danson's 38 Chevrolet, and he is limping to pit road, and Kevin King will lead his first lap of the night with 5 laps to go as Danson comes to pit road.
Well, let's watch these playoffs. Danson is going to be safe. We can say that he's going to be safe to go to the next round because of I'll go to the amount of drivers that are not in this race. Those 7 that have left this race is going to save him here. We'll watch him drop. Obviously, we'll watch the playoffs. Andrew Freenage just took a bouncy roller coaster ride there. But he's going to drop. You're going to start to see it. 3,100. Freenage is going to gain a spot. Silver's going to jump up 1 and go up a little bit more points. That was Kevin King maybe probably praying. I know, commentator's curse could be there, as we had pretty much said that he was going to do it right when I read the DMs too. As now we're going to be talking about who's going to be second between Andrew Freenage and Cody Harris. Cody Harris has been one of the faster drivers on the track, but Andrew Freenage laid down a 119.8 to a 120 flat.
I just can't get over the change. But again, yeah, grand picture. Danson's still going to make it to the next round of the championship. I still think you're looking at those two, but that just goes to show you how tight the box is, how little room for margin of error there is. And it has moved everybody up. And Andrew Freenage, who I was spelling doom and gloom for, Terry, earlier in this race. Oh, there's 4 cars on him. He could lose the spots. He might not make it into the next round. Well, now he's fighting for 6th in the points, and he is looking at a runner-up if he can hold off Cody Harris. What a change in 1 lap here at the Charlotte Roval, and my heart just about dropped because Kevin King just scraped that same wall that Matt Danson did, but he did not get the severe damage on the race car and kept going.
I told you, you're going to go watch this race back, and I literally said, this race is not over. Anything could happen. According to everybody, we talked about the turns. It's 17 turns. One mistake, one bobble, one minor scrape of the wall, your race is over. And I don't like to be critical. It's not in me. I don't like it. I don't like the fact that you can make a small tap of that wall and your race is over. I know Matt Danson has put a lot of time into this. Kevin King, he told us before, Evan, he really hadn't been focused on RSR. He's been more focused. Andrew Freenage, all of these drivers that went to run the Road to Pro side have not been focused. They have been focused on making contenders so they could be the future Coke drivers. And how cool would that be to say that we have Coke Series drivers in RSR, that will race on Tuesdays but race here Monday nights? I think that would be pretty epic to see. I think Kevin King and this crew could do it, but the problem is, how durable can we make this next-gen car? Can we reverse something? Why is it that small little scrape of the wall just cost a driver a very impressive win because he would have swept the road courses this season?
It would have been an impressive stat, and Danson has been eluded by that sweep for unfortunate reasons before, right? Had a great run in a previous campaign, couldn't sweep it because he wasn't able to compete at Watkins Glen for a 1-race suspension. Now here, again, probably deserves to win this race. Tough break getting into the outside wall, terminal damage to the race car. Now that because of that, now he can't win this race. I mean, Danson's very good. He is by far the best on the road courses, but it just goes to show that there's always a little bit of luck. And look at that, a 1:18.4. That is now the best lap we have seen all night. Practice, qualifying, race speed. Listen, I would be backing it down. He is 39 seconds ahead of P2, and he is still putting down laps. Kevin King built different with 2 laps to go.
No, why back it down? No sense in it. It's just run your thing. Do whatever. I mean, if maybe he pushes it too hard, what do we say then? What do we say he pushes it too hard? Do you go back and question him? Do you go, man, you pushed it a little too hard there. You got a 39-second lead. This would be the time in mind that I'm throwing either Garth Brooks or George Strait on. I've got my feet up. I'm kind of turning with my foot, trying to show off a little bit more than ever. Maybe talking to myself, think, you know what, I'm a better athlete. Car's been better. But I would say he kind of looked in as that battle right there. Cody Harris he jumped up there to the outside of Freenage, and that could be very interesting because he lost a lot of time.
Really could be. I mean, he's running out of time, just trying to find a way around. And up at the front of the field for Kevin King, he has taken the white flag and 1 lap to go in the Charlotte Roval 125. The battle for second, how about a half a lap behind them? Off into the bus stop at the back straightaway. It is one of the closest battles on the racetrack right now. Freenage trying to hang on for second. Harris trying to hang on to third. Both in position to qualify and advance to the round of 8. This battle is going to go all the way to the last lap as it's Freenage in advantage by 2-3 car lengths as Kevin King hits the high banks in turns 1 and 2 with a half a lap to go.
Yeah, he's gone. And he's tracking the fastest lap as our producer comes in our ear. What a statement. Right? What a statement going into the next round. Hey, I ran good at Texas. I ran good here. I didn't really have to do a whole lot. As there, he gets a little wide, doesn't touch the wall, gets a very good arc off that corner. He could be on another flyer to set it. If he goes lower than a 1:18.3, I'm going to be shocked.
Final time off the high banks for Kevin King, a record-setting 6th win of the season. Kevin King wins at the Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval and advances into the round of 8 to continue his quest of becoming the Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series champ in 2022.
Oh, Harris got past Freenage there going through the chicane there on the back straightaway. We'll see if Freenage actually tries to send it in there. I would be surprised if the 88 tried to send that in the corner, knowing that if he wrecks it and can't get back going, he could possibly have an issue there. As Cody Harris comes sweeping by, it looks like he's going to get second. Cody Harris, P2 at the Roval.
Nice move late in this race. Harris to second. Freenage gets third. Wandmaster fourth. Here's the battle for P5. Bowie hangs on Phillip at the line. And Agno Phillip a half a car length short of getting a top 5 for a third straight race. He will settle for P6.
You know what? I love that Kevin King won, Cody Harris second. Jaron Winemaster, what's up, brother? P4.
Impressive stuff. Windmaster, the highest finishing non-playoff driver. Let's take a look at your Kayla Synthetics full race results. It is win number 6 of the year for Kevin King. That is the most out of anybody. It is also a series best 14th, top 5, 17th, top 10 ahead of Cody Harris and Andrew Freenage. All 3 playoff cars, all 3 going to be moving on to the round of 8. We'll talk with them in just a few. Wandmaster Bowie finishing inside of the top 5. Agnel Phillip ends up in 6th. Connor Horn in 7th. Sam Nieto in 8th. William Schmidt 9th. And Tom Wetmore P10.
Yeah, we go back there to 11th. We got Nick Silver, Michael Johnson, Sean Casto, Brandon Fetterplace in 14th, Ross Cato in 15th, and then our multiple lap down drivers. You got Matt Danson, Michael Araya, Eric Pepino, Harry Grindell, and Raleigh Grant Davis. Rounds at the top 20th.
And at the tail end of this one, drivers unable to make it the distance with Sexton, Kolb, Stanford, and Major through 24th position. That is a look top to bottom at your Kaylist Synthetics full race results. Remember, from now until the end of the playoffs, any customer that places an order of $100 or more will receive a complimentary 6-month preferred customer membership provided by Kaylist Synthetics Amsoil. That'll give you up to 25% off your current and future orders. To get started, you can reach out to them on social media at Kayla Synthetics on Facebook or give them a call at 785-813-1882 and they'll help you get your discounted order placed. Let's talk with some of the drivers in a moment. They are still celebrating, Terry. Nobody ready to chat with us yet on pit road, but for a race that didn't seem to be holding much, admittedly, at the 3rd mark, you had race leaders wrecking out, and consequential moves in the postseason turned out to be quite a good one in the Charlotte Roval 125.
Yeah, it was a upside-down race in the second half. Right after those pit stops, we kind of thought, nothing's really going to shake up. Kind of not like James Bond. It was shaken and stirred, but it flipped on its head, and in a good way. Unless you're a Matt Danson fan, then it was not good.
Yeah, tough break for him. Somebody, though, who's going to be happy with this result is Cody Harris. Terry, he made that exciting pass on the last lap, and he's the first one standing by. So let's talk with your second place finisher.
Oh, wait, that's a shot to me. Cody Harris, what's up, my man?
How's it going?
You know what? Going pretty good. How's second place feel?
Pretty good, given all things considered. Not too long ago, I bought a new set of wheel pedals and wheels, and it failed right before the race, so I had to make a quick change, and I only had up to 90% throttle that whole race, so that was a little bit frustrating to... I'm not sure if I had the pace for the top two, because I didn't get to practice as much this week because I was at the real Roval, but man, that was a lot of hard work, but it was a lot of fun getting up through there.
Well, what kind of pedals did you get?
I had the Fanatec V3, and the damper, I think, on it is what failed, but I couldn't get it off in time, so there was something kind of wedged, and I couldn't get all the way full throttle. But in qualifying, it started sticking, and it was just holding the gas wide open, so, or at least some throttle. So that was a little bit frustrating, but we'll get that fixed for next time.
Did you try switching it to Wombo before the race?
I think I did about everything I could. I have still got my tools and screws on the floor over here, but made it work.
That's what I like to hear. P2 with adversity. Let's talk about that next round. We have three not similar but oddly similar tracks. We go to Vegas next week, then Homestead, polar opposite tracks, and then we go to a track that I think that you are a potential favorite to win. If I had to put one there in Martinsville, what are your chances getting to the final four at Phoenix?
I like to think they're pretty good. Las Vegas is a decent track for me. It's not my favorite, but I've ran pretty good at Homestead in the past. I like the multi-grooves. We'll have to see what it is with this car. I haven't seen any on-track action there yet, but usually there's a lot of tire wear, and I like races where you have to save your stuff and whatnot. And then I feel pretty good about Martinsville, as long as you don't get turned around on a restart or something.
Well, that's always surprising. Congratulations on P2. 90% throttle. Didn't matter. A good showing for you here this afternoon at the Roval. Anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone that watches me, my friends, co-workers, and family, and you guys for putting this on each and every week. This is a lot of fun.
Well, we appreciate you, Cody Harris. That's P2, number 28 machine, and we're going to go grab the 88 Ford of Andrew Freenage in P3. And well, Andrew Freenage, it's Terry, the Tennessee fan Radford guy up here. P3, how'd you do it?
Honestly, I got lucky. A lot of people had problems. I don't know what happened to Agnell there, and I guess Danson hit the wall, and we just stayed consistent and turn laps. Not much of a road racer, so we got very lucky and brought it home third. And I think we're on to the next round, so just happy we did enough to move on.
I like that answer. You are on to the next round, allegedly. No promises. Don't know. Just kidding. You are going. Three different tracks. One a little bit more grooved. Vegas is kind of there on the bottom. What do you think? Because three different tracks, mile and a half, another mile plus at Homestead, and then you got Martinsville, the oldest track on the service. Where do you see yourself? Do you see yourself going to try to win another championship and make it? I believe Evan said this would be 5 straight.
Yeah, I don't know. If we really got that, to be honest, I think Kevin's been the class of the field and what Agnell's been doing, and Danson, obviously there's so many guys in this league who can make this Final Four. So I mean this car has not been good to me. We're finally done with Road Pro, so we'll get some practice and see where we go. But I really don't know what to expect. Like I said, these guys are so talented. It feels great to even make the Final 8, especially this year, and it's good to see a lot of other guys winning this year. So I would put our expectations at the floor, and whatever we can achieve, we will. But I wouldn't count on us to really come out and make it.
You know, the last person that came up here and told us that, you know, they really didn't feel good in the car, the very next week they won. I'm not going to put the commentator's curse on you and say you're going to win Vegas, but if you play your cards right and roll the dice in the right direction, you might go out there and pull it off. But the Battle Beaver machine was good tonight. You set top 5 majority of this evening. There for a second, it looked like you were holding a pack up, but you started to show a little bit. Were you saving? Were you kind of just sitting there biding your time, just like, hey, I don't really want to be in this position, but you still come out with a very good finish.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not a road racer, and this car has just not clicked with me this year. So the combination of the two, we were not fast. We kind of qualified better than we probably should have, and we were holding everybody up. I guess we were doing enough just to stay where we were. So I was giving it all I had because really tire wear is not an issue here. So I guess we were just a little off. Don't really know. We couldn't take it in as deep into the corner as the other guys. So we gave it everything we had, and that's kind of what we got out of it.
Well, what a hell of a run if that's all you had and you still come home P3. But thank those sponsors, and let's look forward to those round of 8 now.
Yeah, big shout out to Battle Beaver. Anybody needs any custom controllers, Xbox, PS4, even GameCube, go check them out. A big thank you for them coming on the car. I know we haven't performed like years past, but I just can't say thank you enough to all the support that Tom gives us. All the fans, I hope we put on a good show. You guys for broadcasting. All the friends, family, Sean, Una, and most importantly, Paul for being on the box this year. It's been very nice to have strategy that he decides and all that stuff. So big thank you to everybody. And all the drivers in this league. I love racing against these guys every single week, and the competition is just quality every single year, and this year's no exception.
Well, Andrew, we love having you here. Congratulations on your P3. And Evan, you're standing by with the race winner that we didn't think was going to be the race winner, Kevin King.
He had to sit in second position in this race for 49 laps because Kevin King is your race winner tonight in the Charlotte Roval 125. It is checkered flag at number 6 on the season. Kevin, congratulations on the win. Just tell us about that fight with you and Matt Danson. Started on pole, got some position on you on the start, was able to get clear, and then from that point on, it was a lot of chase and challenge at one point next to him into the chicane on the front stretch until it all fell apart for Danson when he got into the fence on his own.
Yeah, I knew getting the pole was not going to be optimal, although I didn't really think I was going to get the pole. So I knew once he was in second, I was like, okay, this is going to be tough. And then once he was in lead, it was just going to be trying to chase him and him managing the race. I did notice his line through that short chute was a lot more aggressive than mine. I entered right next to the cones because there's a lot of bumps, and if you hit it just right, it'll just shoot your car straight, and you don't really have much chance to save it. And I just was kind of cruising after I tried to make that move on him, and that didn't work out for me, so I felt bad for that, but then it worked out for him because I got the brunt of it. But yeah, I don't know why it does that to these cars, but I watched it, and it's just, you tap it a certain way and it kills the toe link, and I feel bad for him because I really like Matt, and he was obviously really good and dominating this race. So it's nice to win a race, but it's not nice to win a race when you know that you didn't really have a probably 100% chance of winning. I had a decent shot, but you know, I guess it makes up for Gateway a little bit. I don't know.
Well, Matt's pretty good at these road courses. No one's shocked by that. Came into this one as a pretty heavy favorite, but you had bested him in practice, bested him in qualifying, and it was right there with him. What is it about maybe the Charlotte Roval specifically that made you fast tonight?
I would say the new tire model, because I think it kind of closes up some people when the grip comes up. I think with him, he would probably run away with the old tire model just because he's so smooth. So the grip, with how I drive and how I feel like I can run pretty much the same lap all the time, it's really good for me. And then when the tires cool down, the fuel comes down, it just allows me to go a little bit harder. So I think not necessarily having to worry about the tire wear is beneficial on my end. But I ran some races here this week, just because it's not my favorite track. It's not my favorite road course, but I do think there's some skill gap to be had just because of the way it bumps and turns, and it's really tough to go faster on here. So just with that, I felt like I had a decent pace, and I had a league race yesterday that I ran really well in, and I just assumed that him and Cody would just run away from me or be really close, but yeah, for some reason I was able to stay with him for the most part. So pretty fortunate overall. I just hate it for him because he's too good of a guy for let something that weird to happen.
What's your 6th win of the year, 9th for the team this season, and now you've started a round of the playoffs with a win, and you have ended a round of the playoffs with a win. So what's going to be the flavor of choice in the round of 8? You're going to win Vegas, Homestead, Martinsville, all of them. What's the outlook for the next 3, hopefully to advance to the championship 4?
Oh man, I wish it was that easy. I think Vegas is a pretty good track for me. Homestead is one of those tracks I like, but I don't seem to run the best lately. Martinsville is pretty good, but I feel like with this car, it's going to be tough to do anything track position and passing and shifting and all that fun stuff. So it's got to be one of the mile and a halves, just because I feel like saving tires and being smooth and utilizing the draft and all that fun stuff will be my favor a little bit more so than short tracks and tire strategies and all that fun stuff. So just looking forward to just having some clean races and hopefully be in there for the next round, because it does end on my favorite track and arguably my best track. So if I can get to the last round, I'll be looking forward to Phoenix.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing as you continue your march there, because 26 down, 4 races to go. Kevin, congratulations on the win. Anybody want to say hi to?
Yeah, I want to say hi to Tom. I'm sure he's watching. Everyone on the team, Boosted, Battle Beaver, VRS, GSI, Rev Grips, everyone who makes it happen for us. Looking forward to Contender Series coming up here. Taking a nice little break, enjoying league racing in the meantime. Appreciate you for putting this league on, and all the guys were really respectful and a really good race tonight. So hoping to take the momentum into next week and keep it going. Appreciate it.
We appreciate you racing with us here on Monday nights and putting on the show again. Congratulations, Kevin, on the win. Thanks for giving us the time, and we'll catch you next week.
Thank you.
It's a race winner tonight for the Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval. Kevin King has a race win in both rounds of the playoffs this year and is moving on, Terry, to the round of 8. He will join Agnell Phillip, both those drivers as race winners this past round, going to get a 3-point bump. They'll be joined by Casto, Danson, Freenosh, Harris, Nieto, and Silver. So we've cut them in half. 8 drivers left, and now 3 races to go until we know who will fight for that championship. But again, what an unexpectedly wild night here at the Roval. I guess I can't be too shocked. This racetrack just has a way of bringing out drama both on the sim and here, in the real world as well recently. But fun afternoon. Kevin King continues to prove his point, maybe further solidifying that he maybe should be the championship favorite. But none of that matters if you can't execute in the next round. And we saw with some of the big names who were close to elimination tonight, all it takes is one bad race to put you in an uncomfortable spot.
Yeah, and I go back to what we were talking about a little earlier. When you go into this next round, the round of 8, Vegas, people say you really can't pass there. That second groove doesn't really allow you to get the momentum off the corner. I did a little practice up there earlier in the open side, which is normally where I try to keep my expertise at. But it's a little bit more difficult. There's a little bit more that goes into the mechanics of the car. And then Martinsville arguably is one of my favorite racetracks on the service. Little short track racing, bumping, moving people out of the way. And the next-gen car hasn't been very great on these short tracks. The best race we saw all season was obviously Bristol when it came to the short tracks here, where everybody was really bottom or top, and you had the slide job move for the win that took it there in a good little battle towards it. But I would be remiss if I didn't say that I'm happy for this week. Great race here, but Saturday I'll take a break from the sim. It's a very big game in the college football world, as undefeated Alabama, undefeated Tennessee, Neyland Stadium, Evan P. I'm telling you now, I'm going to be one happy camper next Monday at Vegas, because Tennessee is going to be 6-0, baby, and they're going to be in the top 5 of the playoffs, because good old Rocky Top's going to roll, baby.
Well, listen, you can be top 5 all you want, because if you beat Alabama, that's going to put Michigan back in the top 4. So that is all I care about. So I'm with you. I'll be rooting with you, and we'll also be looking forward to that race in Vegas, right? Going to be a fun weekend. I'll be checking out some of the Cup action in Vegas on Sunday, and then, of course, next Monday, it is the opening race of the round of 8. We talked about it. Phillip and King get a little bonus. if those drivers execute according to plan, there should be no need for those 3 bonus points to be used, Terry, but it never hurts to have them.
Agnell Phillip is going to win Las Vegas. I won at Texas, very similar track in Las Vegas. I'll take Agnell Phillip to go be the first driver to punch his ticket to the championship round. And still, shocker, I do not think that Matt Danson makes the Final Four. I hope he proves me wrong, but I think that Cody Harris, Andrew Freenash are going to be right there nipping at the heels. I don't see it.
There's only one way to find out, and that is to tune in with us on Monday nights and find out. But until next time, from iRacing's virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway, that is it for us as round number 26 falls into the rear view mirror. I want to say on behalf of our entire team at RealSimRacing and RaceSpotTV, and for our partners at Kalis Synthetics and your broadcast team tonight, for producer downstairs, Joshua Lee, for Terry Radford, and myself, Evan Pasoko. I want to thank you for tuning in and congratulate 6-time Kevin King. Now has more wins this season than anybody else. The round of 8 kicks off next Monday. That is Monday, October 17th for the virtual Las Vegas Motor Speedway. That race and every race of the Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series playoffs can be found exclusively here on RaceSpot TV. Until next time, good night from Charlotte.